Here's a guy who has a big question for atheists.
The idea that we exist just by chance alone takes more faith than someone creating us.
I don't believe that we exist by chance alone. I don't believe that chance plays much of a role at all in explaining our existence. I think we exist as a consequence of largely deterministic physical systems.
In my opinion, and that just makes sense, that it makes more sense that someone would create us than we would just come about by chance.
What makes the most sense is that we are the product of deterministic natural processes rather than chance or design.
How does it not require more faith to believe in that atheistic worldview of our existence than it does the Christian worldview of our existence?
While I would think that intelligent design is more probable than chance alone bringing humans into existence, I could only think that by conceiving of the intelligent designer as a physical entity, rather than one that can exist independent of time and space and created all of time and space. I don't think it's coherent to say that something can exist independent of time and space. I don't know what it means to exist without that existence manifesting anywhere ever. Humans existing by pure chance seems far more probable than being created by such a self-contradictory entity. I couldn't believe in a timeless, spaceless being even by faith because I don't know how to even have faith in a notion that is inconceivable to me.
I don't know how you've reached the conclusion, so you might just need to explain that to me before I can answer, that it makes more sense that a God has created us as opposed to just like random chance.
Where did you even get the idea that this is a common view among atheists? It seems more common to me that atheists believe that the development of life in general, and humans in particular, is the consequence of largely deterministic processes rather than complete randomness. There are probably elements of randomness here and there, but natural selection is pretty deterministic. The development of the chemicals and atoms that make up life isn't random either. They are exactly what you would expect to develop given the way the physics of the universe behaves.
And by us, do you mean humans, or do you mean like the microbacteria on Mars, the quasars and black holes? Like, do you mean everything, or do you mean specifically humans on planet Earth?
I'm speaking specifically to humans, but that doesn't mean no to the rest.
I can answer the rest then, because if you believe that everything in the universe was random chance except humans, then it seems like more of a leap of faith to me to imagine that human beings are the one exception amongst all the billions of other things that you already accept were just random chance created.
True.
So does this guy believe that nothing at all is the consequence of random chance?
Okay. But that's not what I believe. I believe that God created everything, including humans.
So nothing that exists is the product of chance? Does chance even exist at all according to theism?
So what is the method of rational deduction that you applied that led you to say it makes more sense that a God created the universe than not that?
Right. The way I currently think about it, and I'm not saying this is the best rationale for it, but one way to conceptualize it is, as an artist or someone who creates something, you create that thing and it exists.
So the mere fact that something exists is evidence that it has a creator? That's what it sounds like this dude is saying. Why can't something just exist on its own as he believes God does? Or is he pleading that God is a special case?
That seems more reasonable and requires less faith than, I'll put it this way. Say someone introduced you to this ceramic jar, and they say, I made this. And he's like, okay, I believe you. It's easier to believe that than, hey, this ceramic jar just spontaneously formed out of this clay ball that I had.
Why then does it not follow that the idea that God had a creator is more probable than the idea that he just exists with no cause of his own? I don't believe that this analogy applies to the universe as a whole, because there was no time when the universe was a clay ball. There was no time when the universe did not exist. If there was a time when the universe did not exist, and then the universe popped into existence, I could understand wondering what caused that change. However, since no such change took place, what is there to explain?
So what I would say is that the imprecise nature of our language that we use for shorthand is possibly confounding the issue, because anybody who claims that they've made a ceramic jar is technically lying if you interpret their claim to mean that they have materialized the matter that made up that jar from nothing. The more truthful thing to be is say, I took pre-existing matter and I reshaped it according to a design in my mind, and now it looks like this ceramic jug.
Scott Clifton often points out that while experience tells us that everything which begins to exist has what Aristotle called an efficient cause, an agent or event which causes the thing to exist, experience also tells us that everything which begins to exist has a material cause. Everything which is made seems to be made out of some pre-existing stuff. So if it is improbable for something to begin to exist with no efficient cause, why is it not just as improbable for a god to make something with no material cause?
Very good point. That's smart. Right. But where did that matter come from to begin with?
It came from energy. That's its material cause. That energy was formed into matter by the fundamental forces. Those are its efficient cause. The energy that formed the matter didn't come from anywhere because there was never a time when it didn't already exist. At no point in the history of the universe has it been devoid of energy. Something doesn't need to come from anywhere if it has always been here.
How is it that matter just always existed?
It didn't, but the energy that makes it up did, and it has always existed in the same way that you believe God has just always existed.
It can't ever not exist. I have explained this to religious people a number of times, and I usually don't manage to get my point across.
Since most theists seem to believe that God just always existed, I don't understand why this is such a difficult concept for them.
So I should be well practiced at this, but it is a difficult thing for the mind to grasp. So
Okay.
let me try and explain to you where the flaw, as I see it in your thinking, is that you imagine two distinct states: existence and non-existence.
Which is silly because non-existence is not a state, it is the lack of any state.
And you think, well, how can something go from non-existence into existence? There must be a divine process that has transformed it to create that. But the flaw is in thinking that non-existence exists. It doesn't. There is, in a sense, no such thing as non-existence. It is simply an idea.
There was never a time when nothing existed. This should be obvious given that at all points in time, at the very least, time has to exist.
In your mind, but it actually has no basis in reality. There never has been nothing. There has never been something that did not exist. It's impossible. To talk about it is meaningless. We can have words that kind of approximate it, but we are just speaking in completely delusional terms. That does not exist. So it's not true that something has come from nothing. That's impossible because nothing has never existed.
Even if time itself has only existed since the Big Bang, there would still be no such thing as before the Big Bang in which nothing existed.
Existence exists, has always existed, couldn't ever not exist.
And I guess the Bible's answer to that would be that, and I'm not rejecting what you're saying. I'm not denying it. I'm not even necessarily challenging it. I'm just trying to throw this out there for fodder. That I think it would be that God always existed before the planets, before a solar system, before we ever existed. God is how the Bible says it. So there's no end or start to God. God just is.
If God has existed for infinite time, then the universe, or multiverse as the case may be, has also existed for infinite time because the universe, or multiverse, by definition, is all of space and time. If something has always existed, then it can't be created because you can't create something at a time when it already exists. And there has never been a time when the universe or multiverse has not already existed.
But we have a start, and our existence on this planet has a start, and this planet has a start, and our solar system has a start. So God was that thing that was not nothing.
If God has existed for infinite time, then obviously time has also existed infinitely. Since the universe or multiverse, by definition, encompasses all of time, if time is eternal, so is the universe. If time has not existed infinitely, then God cannot be eternal, because to be eternal means to have existed for infinite time. God can't have existed for infinite time if there hasn't been infinite time.
And then he created this something. I think that's how the Bible would put it. if we were to kind of extrapolate it to what we're saying?
So what I would say is that we have not ever had a true start, you and I, because the matter that makes up our bodies and our brains, which creates our consciousness and all of that stuff, was derived from materials that existed on the earth. There's nothing about us that is actually new. This is just matter that has recycled over millions and billions of years.
There's one thing that is new.
Mm-hmm.
Our souls, if you will, or our particular consciousness, consciousnesses, however you'd say that.
Consciousness is not a thing in the same sense as a body is. Consciousness is a set of brain processes carried out by already existing matter. Consciousness is not a new thing that exists, it is an activity that matter undertakes that it didn't always undertake. Like photosynthesis or nuclear fusion once never happened, but now do because the physical conditions have developed to facilitate them. The cause of consciousness is the universe's pre-existing matter and energy, just as they are the cause of nuclear fusion and photosynthesis.
Yeah. What I'd say in scientific terms is our pattern, like our distinct signature. There's never been matter that has been organized in this particular way before with this kind of DNA to create this experience. That's brand new, and that's pretty fucking cool. Like, I love that. That's really exciting. Like, that gives me chills to sort of think about how unrepeatable and unique I am.
Yeah.
Well, in principle, you're not unrepeatable. If it turns out to be the case that the universe contains infinite matter, you could draw a sphere around a region of the universe in which every possible configuration of matter exists. Anything outside that sphere would, by necessity, be an exact match to something inside of it. If the universe continues infinitely beyond that sphere, it wouldn't just be possible that there is an exact replica of you somewhere in the universe, there could be infinite exact replicas.
You're special, man.
I believe it.
But I don't see how where's the proof that is that it's the case that we are just an amalgamation of all this matter?
Where's the proof that there's no woo-woo magic in there somewhere? You can't prove it's not there.
You know, that we're not more, that's not merely our brains, our bodies, our hormones.
Are you saying like we're greater than the sum of our parts?
I'm implying that there seems to be something else about a human, a soul kind of factor that I don't know how to account for in the biological sense.
I'm not convinced that's the case, but even if consciousness does turn out to be something non-physical, whatever that would even mean, it wouldn't follow that there must be a God to create it. Maybe non-physical things are like energy, and they have also existed for as long as time has existed. Maybe they are also not new creations, or maybe souls are made out of some pre-existing soul stuff, just as bodies are made of pre-existing matter.
Yeah, I think that you're right, and that's really cool. I love that. I think that it's a sort of really beautiful part of existence that you can always reshape it into new things and, in a sense, give it like a new identity.
Well, you don't have to reshape things to give them new identities, you just have to redefine the old identity. The reason Pluto is no longer a planet is not because Pluto itself has been reshaped. It's the definition of what a planet is that has been reshaped.
You know, I think that's amazing, and that we can keep creating new things by endlessly changing the way that this stuff is organized. It's a gorgeous spot in between. Oh, I feel really quite moved by this, between recognizing that on the one hand, there is nothing about us that is new. Everything that is inside your body was existing at the Big Bang, and whatever was before the Big Bang.
Well, if time began at the Big Bang, there was no such thing as before the Big Bang.
And whatever has always existed. You couldn't be more dull and boring. And yet, there's something about you that is completely new. That has never been Ethan before. There's never been this conversation before. There's never been looking at this screen before. It is all completely distinct.
Maybe, but that's not necessarily the case.
Beautiful. Just poetic and gorgeous and just yum. Like, that is just delicious.
Even this interaction and our relationships, you know, there's like you can think of it in terms of like a fractal of life and our experiences, just constant depth of newness and uniqueness to it. and it's such a rich complexity.
It's awesome.
But I can't help but see the divinity in that, in my mind. That's the crazy thing for me.
Even if it is the case that your experiences are totally unique, why would that require magic? Why would that be divine?
Is like, I look to God then when I realize that. I don't look to science.
Yeah, that's your problem. To everyone who helps me out on Patreon, you're a big help. Thanks so much.